Thank you, Your Honor. Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Jason Shea, and I'm with the Texas Rangers.
And how long have you been in law enforcement?
Since 1998, so about 27 years.
And would you briefly go through what your duties have been in law enforcement?
So in 1998, I graduated the DPS Training Academy, was assigned to the Highway Patrol. I was in the Highway Patrol for about 8 years. Promoted and was a Highway Patrol Sergeant for about 7 years, and then in 2013 I promoted into the Texas Rangers. And about 3 years ago I went into cold cases, and now I just promoted as a lieutenant, staff lieutenant with the Rangers in our cold case program.
And what is a cold case?
Definition of cold cases is there's not a set definition for it. So I was under a grant through the Department of Justice where we used advanced DNA testing to identify suspects in cases utilizing kinship testing and genealogy.
Okay. Have you also done training in crime scene investigations?
Yes.
And would you explain what your training is?
So initially it's through your basic DPS Texas Ranger crime scene investigation, from blood spatter to crime scene investigation photography.
And have you conducted crime scene investigations?
Yes.
Few or many?
Many.
Okay. As you work with law enforcement, have you likewise become familiar with guns?
Yes.
And tell us what your familiarity with that is.
Well, initially growing up, we all pretty much shot guns, but and then with the DPS, I'm a firearms instructor, qualify other law enforcement officers in firearms, and then every type of training that we do, and then shooter reconstruction also.
What does shooting reconstruction mean?
More of how a projectile reacts when it hits different surfaces, and trajectory of those projectiles.
Okay. So tell us in general terms, how does ammunition or weapons, how does that play into a crime scene?
If there is a firearm involved in a shooting involved with officer involved shooting, or a crime where somebody has been shot, you can do ballistics to try to track those type. The shell casings have the primer strikes. Also, the serial numbers on guns, you can track those at times.
So as a result of that, have you also had to learn just the basic mechanics of how a bullet is fired and what happens inside a bullet when it is fired?
Yes.
Let's see. May I approach you, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Enter in Exhibit 2 to the defense. We'd offer Exhibit 2 for the demonstrative purposes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted for that purpose.
And may the witness approach the
Yes, sir.
exhibit. Would you tell us what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 2, please? And make sure people on our side are okay. So if you need this to help you point things out,
Sure.
keep you out of.
So basically, this is your bullet with your casing and your projectile. The back of the bullet where the primer or the firing pin strikes, which then enacts and creates some type of explosion that would impact the black powder that's inside, and then it projects, and that expansion of gas projects the bullet or the
So when we hear a shot go off, what are we hearing?
you're hearing the expansion of the gas in there.
And that's from the gunpowder igniting?
Correct.
Okay. And then the primer, would you explain to us what the primer is?
That's just where when it's placed inside the weapon, it strikes that, which causes fire that does the gunpowder. Excuse me.
Now, is there anything about what is on a bullet casing that helps you identify manufacturers or those kind of things?
Sure. Back here in this area right here, there is usually the manufacturer, what type of ammunition it is.
And is that sometimes helpful in a crime scene
Sure.
to track down who originally manufactured that?
Yes.
And can you compare it if there's more than one person firing a shot?
Sure, and then you're going to look at the primer strikes and how that it is struck, and then how the casing goes through the barrel, or when it's put into the barrel. There's markings in the weapon. Each weapon is pretty much unique, and that's how they would be able to track that.
And as far as manufacturing, then where do they print that?
Back here, usually.
And by looking at that, then you can tell if empty casings then.
Sure,
are
like this one says
manufactured.
9mm, so you would suspect that would be a 9mm.
Okay. Now, when a bullet is fired, could you just demonstrate what happens to the parts of the bullet? Where do they go and what happens?
Sure. This will stay inside the weapon itself until it's ejected from the weapon. Of course, the primer is part of that shell casing, and the part that comes out is this part right there. So the bullet or the projectile.
Bullet or projectile is what you call it. That goes out and that does the damage.
Correct.
And the casing, does it matter what kind of weapon is being used as to where the casing goes?
Yes. So a revolver that doesn't eject it would stay in there, and then a semi-automatic weapon would eject that.
And what is a semi-automatic weapon?
One that can shoot multiple rounds.
Okay. And so what happens when a semi-automatic weapon is fired?
It will, first of all, the bullet is in there. Once it's fired, it's ejected out to the side, usually.
The mechanisms of the rifle itself will eject.
Pulls it out, ejects it out, and then loads another one back in.
And so is that one of the things you're looking for when you're looking at a crime scene?
Sure, because if there's not any ejected shell casings, then it could be a revolver that's involved.
And if there are ejected shell casings, that can tell you
More likely that it's a semi-automatic, or that person dumped that ammunition out.
And because the casing's there, can you also inspect it to see who manufactured it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Ranger, have you had experience of doing crime scene investigations in additional active shooter situations?
Not in an additional active shooter situation, no, sir.
You have not done crime scenes in active shooter?
No,
How about mass shootings?
no,
Okay. Ed, did you work in Sutherland Springs?
no, sir.
Okay. Is this the first time you've been to an active shooter crime scene?
Yes.
And how did you arrive at the scene?
By vehicle. I was in Del Rio at the time when we got a call that there was a possible active shooter in Uvalde, and responded from Del Rio.
And how far is Del Rio from Uvalde?
A good distance. I was there on a deployment for the border operations, so I'm not familiar with that area. I actually followed some other individuals to that location.
How long does it take you to get from Del Rio to Uvalde?
I think it took us approximately about an hour to get there.
And when you got there, what did you do?
I had just finished a shift doing border operations, so I was actually in shorts and a t-shirt. I threw on my gear. I was parked down the street, and when I arrived, the street to get there to the school was blocked by vehicles. And the ambulance pulled up and said, "We've got to get these vehicles out of there." So I instructed Highway Patrol to start ramming vehicles off the road, patrol cars, so they could have an entrance to get there to the school. About that time, then other officers, knowing that their vehicles were going to get rammed off the road, came out and moved their vehicles so the ambulance could arrive.
Okay. And eventually did you go in before the breach occurred?
Yes.
And did the breach occur while you were in there?
Yes.
And do you know who was involved in the breach of the classrooms at Robb Elementary?
There were multiple officers. The Border Patrol BORTAC team was the TL there was the lead over that stack.
And what does BORTAC mean?
It's a border operations tactical team for the Border Patrol.
Okay. They actually led the breach, is that
Yes.
correct? Were you given assignments then as far as the crime scene at Robb Elementary?
So, being I guess the first ranger or one of the rangers that was on the scene, we cleared the crime scene to make sure everybody was out and nothing was contaminated at that point. That was secured, and then I was asked to, at some point, to go photograph the vehicle that the suspect had been involved in with his accident before he made entry into the school.
And did you photograph
Yes.
the crime scene? Give me one. Had an opportunity to review photographs with me prior to coming here today.
Yes, sir.
And were those fair and accurate depictions of the crime scene of the truck that you participated in?
Yes.
Stag tenders exhibits 50 through 84 to the defense and asked to offer into evidence.
What are the numbers again? 50?
50 to 84 is what I read.
Okay, folks, while we're waiting, we'll just talk a little bit. As soon as they start back up, they'll cut our mics. But talk to us a little bit about what's happening here, Mike.
It's hard to know exactly, but a lot of times there's some legal discussion about, whether an exhibit is admissible or not that needs to happen between the lawyers and the judge for the judge to make a determination as to how evidence is going to be handled, how it's going to be marked into the record. That is all done outside the hearing of the jury and therefore outside the hearing of us. So being that we're not hearing anything happening, earlier we heard some whispering about exhibit numbers. I think that's what we're hearing or not hearing right now.
Well, and what folks are seeing is kind of how the sausage gets made. I mean, this is all the procedural stuff. This is not the law and order stuff.
This is, almost every time I pick a jury, I tell people, real trials are different from what you see on TV. Real trials don't wrap up in a neat 30 minutes.
They're nice and linear, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's not going to wrap up in 30 minutes. There's no, law and order dun at the end. The reality is sometimes it's slow and messy.
Exhibits 50-75 of this witness.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, they'll be admitted.
And may we display those to the jury?
Yes.
Okay, Ranger, looking first at Exhibit 50. Could you explain to us what we're looking at this point?
Yes, sir. This is the vehicle that had crashed through the guard for that culvert and had crashed right there.
And that was its resting place?
Yes, sir.
And Exhibit 51.
It's same photograph, just from a different angle.
Okay, and what is in the background there?
That's going to be the funeral home, may I?
Yes, please.
Funeral home back over in this area right here, and there was another street that came straight here. And then the school was over here to your right.
Thank you. Exhibit 52.
Just a different perspective of that same vehicle with the school in the background.
Okay. And this was taken on the same day of the offense, May 24, 2022? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 53.
Close-up photograph of that same vehicle.
And the condition of the windows in Exhibit 53.
I believe the ones that passenger side had been were shattered.
On the passenger side,
Yes, sir.
front window
Yes, sir.
was shattered. And Exhibit 54.
Just some of the barriers, and then some projectiles or shell casings or bullets, however you want to call it, there by the fence.
And would you point those out because they're kind of small there?
Yes. Yeah.
And had those bullets been fired?
No, sir.
So they were still live rounds?
Correct.
And when you say a barrier, is that another name for a fence?
Yeah, so you had your fence over here, but you had the barriers from, I believe, from where he had struck that barrier when he entered in that culvert.
Oh, the way the culvert comes down?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Thank you. And State's Exhibit 55.
So just another photograph of that vehicle.
Does that give us a better shot of the front right?
The front of the vehicle where you can see where it had crashed through that barrier and then vaulted into that culvert.
Does that also show the front right window, its condition?
Yes.
And its condition was what?
Broken. You can see the glass right here.
Okay.
So it had been rolled up at the time when it was when it broke.
Very good. State's Exhibit 56.
Same photograph from the rear of the vehicle. You can tell the direction the vehicle was coming from with its marks from the tire.
And on the right side of the vehicle, could you describe what we see there?
Yes, sir. There is a black bag here.
And did it have evidentiary value?
Yes, there was a long rifle or a rifle inside of it.
A long rifle or a rifle?
A rifle.
Okay. State's Exhibit 57.
It's a close-up photograph of the rifle in the bag.
Was that then the condition it was in when you saw it?
Yes.
Exhibit 58.
There you go. So just another photograph of that weapon. And then you also see magazines with live rounds up here in the right. You can also see where that glass was on top of the bag from that window.
Okay. This may be the first time we've heard the word magazine with your testimony. Explain to us what a magazine is.
A magazine is inserted into the weapon from the bottom of this area right here, and it's usually loaded with other live ammunition. And so when the gun is fired, the semi-automatic, it ejects the shell casing that had been fired, and it automatically loads up another bullet from the magazine.
Exhibit 59.
So once we opened up that bag, we laid out all the magazines that were there and photographed that.
And how many cartridges does one of those magazines hold?
Usually anywhere 28 to 30.
20 to 30 rounds? So 20 or 30 rounds can be fired without the gun being reloaded?
Correct. It loads itself, yes, sir.
And then what does it take to reload the weapon?
You have to eject a magazine and insert another magazine.
And about how long does that take?
Depends on how proficient somebody is. It can take seconds.
Just seconds, a matter of seconds?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And number 60.
Just a photograph of those magazines with live cartridges in there.
So does that indicate the magazines were full?
Or had been loaded, yes, sir.
And how many magazines are depicted there?
6.
Thank you. Exhibit 61.
Open the door of that passenger side and photograph the inside of the vehicle.
And on the passenger seat, is there a magazine there also?
Yes, sir. Right. That had rounds inside of it.
And it had rounds in it also?
Yes, sir.
States Exhibit 62.
Another magazines with live rounds inside of it. That was in the floorboard.
Front floorboard?
Yes, sir, of the passenger side.
Thank you. 63.
Looks like it's the same photograph. So we had emptied out or looked for identification to see who had insurance on the vehicle or if the vehicle was registered to someone. And so we placed those out by that cell phone that's located right here. And that same magazine that's with the live rounds, just to see who the owner of the vehicle was or potential.
And did you activate that magazine to aid you and assist you as to whose telephone that was?
Can you repeat that question?
Did you activate the phone, or did the phone activate?
Yeah, when we picked up the phone, the front screen popped up.
And is that what a photograph of Exhibit 64 is?
Yes.
And are you able to read from that phone, from this photograph?
Yes, I am.
And could you repeat what you read on the top
It's
line,
an
please?
Instagram post from an individual, Ella Packer 69. Yeah, they killed them, and he killed his grandma. He shot her 24 times. He's going to hell.
Okay.
Then there was just another Instagram, somebody's following you, a TikTok, somebody liked the video, somebody took a screenshot, Apple News, and then somebody appeared to try to call this individual.
Thank you. Did you see the gunman that day, or did you ever see a photograph of him?
No,
Okay, so you can't tell us whether or not this was the gunman.
no.
You can just say this was the car in which there was an automatic weapon found just outside it.
Yes.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 65.
So the back passenger view photograph inside, there's a little blood right here on the seat. Appeared there might have been some blood on the center console, and then another magazine with live ammunition inside of it. Also you can see that the airbags had deployed on the driver's steering column.
And what causes an airbag to deploy?
An impact to the front of the vehicle,
Okay.
which is consistent with what we saw.
fair enough. 66.
Couple more magazines. So I'd already pointed out one of them. There's 3 more there. The tire iron and a couple other items.
So we had 6 outside, and these are additional magazines?
So six outside, 2 in the front that we saw, and then there's another 4, and then I think there's another one in the back seat. So it's 12, 13 at this time.
Holding a capacity of 20 or 30 rounds or somewhere in between.
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 67.
Same photograph. It looked like, I don't know what that is, something with the vehicle, but then there's another magazine and a spent shell casing there and a live round there.
And is there both a live round and a fired casing there?
Correct, a live round and a fired round.
And how can you tell the distinction?
You can see that projectile of that bullet right there, and on this one, there's not one. So we know that that had been fired, or appeared to be fired.
So that indicates that a bullet had been fired somewhere around
Somewhere.
or near that vehicle.
Don't know, just that there was a shell casing there and that bullet had been potentially fired.
And would it be consistent with the weapon that you saw outside the vehicle for a casing to be ejected from that weapon upon it being fired?
Yes.
In other words, it wasn't a revolver.
It wasn't a revolver, it was a semi-automatic rifle.
So you would expect the casing to be ejected.
Correct.
And Exhibit 68.
So a zoomed in photograph, next photograph.
I'm sorry, this thing's
No,
not always
you're good.
working. There you go.
Yeah, you can see where it appears to be burnt kind of on the end from the expansion of the gas, the burning of the gas, and it appeared that that primer had been struck, which initiates the firing of it.
Indicating again it had been fired.
Yes.
And Exhibit 69.
A live shell casing, you can see that the bullet is still there.
The bullet on the end indicates it has not been fired.
Correct.
Exhibit 70.
I looked at that seat and you could see where there was a jack there from the vehicle.
And in the
And also a
door facing of the back seat, is there any evidentiary value there?
Yes, there's a spent shell casing right there.
And you say spent, once again, that means
Had
it was
been
fired?
Excuse me.
And Exhibit 71.
A zoomed in photograph of that one.
And 72.
I believe that's going to be the front driver's seat, a magazine that had been loaded with cartridges inside of it.
Okay, so this is still an additional casing? I mean, a magazine?
Yes, sir.
And once again, fully
I think
loaded?
we're around 14, I believe.
Thank you. And 73.
The driver's seat, we know that's because of the airbag right there, and then 2 live bullets there in the driver's seat.
74.
A zoomed in photograph of both of those.
And finally, 75 down, I guess, toward the
Yes.
middle of the screen.
Same magazine that we had noted earlier, and then 2 more shell casings or cartridges right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
When we talk about weapons and ammunition, what does the word caliber mean here?
It's the that ammunition, a caliber goes with that type of gun. So if you had a .308 caliber rifle, it would shoot .308 ammunition. A 9mm would shoot a 9mm. It's the size of the weapon.
And so what caliber was this ammunition?
223.
And is a .223, can it be fired in a 9mm weapon?
No,
And vice versa?
no.
And so if you find .223 casings, the indication is it was fired from a .223 weapon.
Correct.
And by the same token, if you find a 9mm casing, it indicates that it was fired by a 9mm weapon.
If it was spent or had been fired, then yes, it would have been shot from a 9mm.
And once again, that would be if it was a semi-automatic that ejected the casing as opposed to a revolver.
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Stacy's Exhibit 12, if you'll just take a quick look at that.
May I?
Yes. You testified that you found 2 live casings in the truck that you did the search on. Does that appear to be the same?
2 live?
Fired casings?
Yes.
Thank you for
This,
correcting that.
yes, sir. These would be fired casings.
Thank you. The state offers Exhibit 12.
No objection.
Thank you.
You're admitted.
Exhibit 12, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. And on Exhibit 12, the 2 casings, on the end of those casings, is there a head stamp indicating what manufacturer?
Yes, sir.
And could you tell us what it is?
Not without my glasses.
Okay. And you didn't bring them?
No, sir, I did
We'll
not.
save that for another witness then. I couldn't either, that's why I asked you.
Is he just cheaters or what?
Yes.
You know, try to give us some.
Hey, if it'll work, it'll work.
Try that.
I have some cheaters.
Don't break them, there wasn't good.
We'll give it one more try, but
All right.
we've got younger people coming with better eyes.
I thought my sight was bad. No, I can't.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't. I'm sorry.
That's all right, not a problem.
I appreciate it.
Right by your booth. Thank you.
Well, let's try these. So we can keep track. Of course, they're pink. but-
Hey, pink will work. I think that'll work.
Really?
Says LC 22.
Bill, if you want to read it, we'll agree.
Is it LC 223?
Yes, sir.
Would that be consistent with what's fired from those semi-automatic weapons?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And LC stands for the manufacturer.
Yes, sir.
223 is the caliber.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Please.
Good afternoon, Ranger.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I wasn't expecting that accent.
No, no, I'm sorry about that. So, so my name's Gary Hilly. We've not met before.
No, no, sir, we have not.
And so you understand, you've done this a lot before, right?
Yes, sir.
So you understand I'm one of the attorneys representing Adrian,
Yes, sir.
right? And
Yes, sir.
You know I've got to ask you some questions.
Sure.
And you testified loads of times.
A couple of times. Yes, sir.
A couple of times. So I'm not going to ask you anything you haven't been asked before. So if I tend to speak too fast, so if I do, you just tell me to slow down, and if you need me to repeat something, say Gary, go again.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
And so I wanted to, let's go back to the beginning of your testimony. So, do I address you as Ranger or Lieutenant, just to start off with?
Whatever's good with you or Jason. That's just fine.
So if I just call you Ranger, is that good enough? Is that
That's
respectful
perfect.
enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so Ranger, I want to talk to you a bit about your training experience, because you've been, did you say you've been in law enforcement since 1998?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. So that's a lot of experience.
A little bit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, so you and look, I mean, I wrote some of it down. You've done a lot of things. You've been you're a crime scene investigator, right?
Yes, sir.
You've been a firearms instructor. Are you still a firearms instructor?
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been doing that?
Since probably 2002.
So you've been doing that.
A little bit of time. Yes, sir.
That's 23 years, 24 years now, right?
Yes, sir.
Nearly a quarter of a century. So you've got a lot of experience in the world of firearms and instruction in firearms.
Yes, sir.
But of course, I guess you said that you worked for were you a DPS trooper at the start?
Yes, sir.
And so at some point you have to go through some kind of academy,
Yes, sir.
right? And they teach you basic police tactics or ranger tactics, right?
Basic police tactics. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And because if you hadn't had any police experience before or law enforcement experience before, that's where they teach you the basic stuff.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so when we talk about basic stuff, we're talking about report writing,
Yes, sir.
some knowledge of the penal code,
Yes, sir.
stuff like that, driving,
Yes, sir.
right, weapon handling,
Yes, sir.
and some tactics that go around basic policing,
Yes, sir.
right? And you like I said, one of the basic things he's doing is report writing, right?
Yes.
Because reports are important,
Yes, sir.
right? Because you try and make them fair, I would imagine, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you try to include details in them.
Yes, sir.
Because on like an occasion like today, this incident was 3 years ago,
Yes, sir.
right? So did you prepare a report about this incident?
We prepared many reports about this incident.
Okay. And have you reviewed any today?
No, sir, I have not today.
Have you reviewed any in preparation for your testimony?
More of the photographs is what I reviewed, a statement, and then many of the interviews that I had done.
So let's talk about, so when you say a statement,
Yes, sir.
you said a statement, is that a statement that you made or?
No, it was based off of an interview that I had done.
So because you also did interviews in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. We'll talk about that in a little while. But do you recall how many reports you authored in this case?
No, most of the reports that I authored were based off the interviews that I had conducted.
So, okay, well, let me go a different way then. So your investigation of this scene, we've established that you went to the scene, and we'll talk about that. I'm talking about the photographs that Mr. Turner's got here, if I may, Bill. Can I borrow those for a second? Are that the right ones?
they're right here.
They're the wrong ones. Can I borrow them for a second? So you're on my approach, the witness.
Yeah.
So your investigation of this incident is kind of documented in these photographs. Is that
Yes,
fair to
sir.
say? So you didn't do a written report, or
No.
I guess type now, right?
No, correct. Yes, sir. Most of mine was documented by the photographs.
So I guess traditionally you'd have done. Back when you started, it was probably a handwritten report, right?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and now it would be a typed report.
Correct.
So your testimony here today is you didn't do that. You just documented your work through photographs.
Other individuals documented it. Mine were through the photographs.
Yeah, your work. So
Yes.
your work was done through these photographs.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Cool. So I want to make sure that make sure we're not missing anything with
No, sir.
reports or anything like that. Okay. So let's talk about your job as because it sounds like you were a firearms instructor before you were a crime scene investigator.
So, and I say crime scene investigator, I'm a ranger. We usually process most of our crime scenes. So not a crime scene investigator, but more as a ranger. That's one of our duties.
So like dual purpose, you're multitasking, it would be fair to say that you are investigating, but you're also processing the scene yourself.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Whereas I guess sort of what would happen, sometimes a local PD will come and patrol officers or detective will come to a scene and they will call in crime scene folks and they will process the scene.
Correct. As a ranger, we usually do our own.
You can't do both. So when did you specialise in the firearms, before or after you started doing more of the crime scene stuff? Or was it
Before.
Before. So let's talk about that for a second. So I wanted to, and Judge, may I approach the demonstrative?
Yes.
Can I talk to you about some of the things we discussed earlier with the prosecutor? And this demonstrative that you used earlier, can you see that there? Can you see that there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this round here on this demonstrative, I think it states 2, right? This, I'm on the left here, I'm indicating on the left. We'll move it so the court reporter can see it. That's what we're talking about. So this would indicate, this is a hugely magnified diagram.
Yes, sir.
This isn't a real projectile or round of ammunition, is it?
No.
It's a diagram.
Yes,
right?
sir.
But on the bottom here, the end of the round, the cap, if you call it right, it says 9mm.
Correct.
Right, and that would indicate a round or a projectile that gets fired from a smaller weapon, a handheld weapon.
Correct. Yes,
Right,
sir.
because I don't want you to show me, but you're probably armed today.
Yes, sir.
Right, and what kind of sidearm do you carry?
357.
357, and that is
It's a little bit larger than what this would be.
so that's what I was going. It's a self-loading pistol,
Yes, sir.
right? But that's you wear that on your hip,
Yes, sir.
right? And so that's probably the only weapon you're wearing right now.
Correct.
But if you were dressed tactically, that would be your secondary,
Correct.
right? So that would be your backup weapon,
Correct.
right? And your primary weapon would be a long arm.
If I had a long arm at that
Yeah.
time, yes, sir.
If you were doing any kind of tactical work, and the idea of that is you can shoot longer with that,
Correct.
right? And it's more accurate.
Yes.
And if that fails, you ditch it and you go for your secondary,
Correct.
which is your
The
pistol
pistol.
on the hip.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's the kind of round that we're talking about here on your diagram,
Correct.
right? It's not the kind of rounds that Mr. Turner showed you. Where are they? Did you put them on there? In States Exhibit 2012.
Correct. The concept is the same.
Yeah.
Just a different type of
And
weapon.
so the jury can see that. These are a different caliber, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
223, can't be fired through a handgun, but the principle is exactly the same,
Yes, sir.
right? Although this, because it would have, these, you can see that, in 12, this has more powder.
Correct.
So, because you said earlier, and we'll go back to the diagram here. Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it, so I'm trying to get these out without handling them. I feel very... I'll handle them. You mind if I touch them?
I don't mind.
So Nico's going to show the jury the rounds there. So you'd agree, I guess, these are longer than a normal 9mm round, which is what's portrayed here.
Correct.
So
Yes,
that,
sir.
that round is fired out of a longer barreled weapon.
Yes, sir.
Right, and I say round, a round of ammunition.
Correct.
Because that right now is a cartridge. So this is a round of ammunition,
Yes, sir.
right? This thing here is the projectile.
Yes, sir.
Like the bit on the end. That gets, this primer gets struck by the firing pin,
Yes, sir.
right? You pull the trigger, the spring squeezes, eventually the firing pin goes forward and it strikes this pin.
Correct.
And you quite rightly said people think it creates an explosion.
Yes.
And it's really like a very fast burn.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
And
That's what ignites the gunpowder.
ignites the gunpowder in this cartridge and forces the projectile out the barrel,
Correct.
right? And so this cartridge is the thing that carries the charge or the powder.
Correct.
The longer the charge or the cartridge, the faster it travels.
Should be.
And
Yes.
if you add that to a barrel, which makes it spin, it's even more deadly, right? That projectile
Correct.
is even
More
deadly.
accurate. Yes, sir.
More accurate. It can travel faster, and it can travel further distances.
Yes, sir.
So that round there is now potentially in the right weapon is much more dangerous than a round fired out of like a 9mm weapon.
It's going to be more powerful.
More
Yes, sir.
powerful, so therefore more dangerous. More power equals more velocity.
Correct.
More velocity equals more speed.
Yes.
More speed means more danger.
Potentially. Yes, sir.
Right, potentially. So, and then what happens with these is that the round gets fired and the projectile gets thrown out the end of the barrel, right, gets pushed, spirals down the barrel, and then goes towards its target,
Correct.
okay? And then the weapon recycles. We
Yes,
talked
sir.
about it earlier. So the weapon will cycle, the receiver or some of the action will go forward, then come backwards on itself.
Correct.
And that's what throws the ejected cartridge out.
Correct.
Because I just want to clear that up. So it throws, and depending on the ejector that's inside the weapon itself, that depends where that cartridge goes, right?
A lot of things depend on where that cartridge goes, but yes, that is, it grabs that basically and throws it out.
Because some weapons have slightly different individual characteristics.
Correct.
They have like general characteristics, but that's how you can tell. Because sometimes there will be markings on the rounds and on the cases that you can say this has been fired by this weapon.
Correct.
And sometimes that is the ejector right?
Yes.
Because the weapon fires, recycles, and as it's coming back, it hits the ejector pin, or whatever you want to call it, and it fires the round out.
Correct.
And generally, most of these weapons are they're recycled to the right.
Yes.
Because I guess
Most of the ones that I've been involved with, yes.
and I'm assuming, maybe you tell us, it's probably because most people are right-handed, right?
Correct.
Because it fires away from the firer's face.
Correct.
But sometimes, so generally, rounds when they're fired from a long-barreled weapon or a handgun go to the right.
That's the intention.
That's
Yes,
the
sir.
intention. Because it keeps away from the firer's face.
Correct.
That'd be no good for military or law enforcement.
Exactly.
It goes away to the right, but sometimes it'll go backwards.
Correct.
So there's no real science, there's no real way of accurately saying, does it go backwards or just sideways?
Correct.
But what we can agree with is that round is more dangerous than one of these.
Potentially, yes, sir.
Yeah, and so therefore that weapon is.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And so, because you must do some tactical stuff as well, by the sounds of it.
Yes.
And so when you deploy tactically, what equipment do you have?
A pistol and a rifle.
So you have your pistol was your secondary, or your
Correct.
backup. What kind of rifle do you carry?
A 223.
Okay, and so what range is that accurate over, generally?
It could go from long distance, but I would say anywhere from, from 50 yards to 100, 200, 250 yards.
And I guess it depends on how good your training is, right? But
Correct.
what other equipment would you have on you?
A bulletproof vest. Potential you might have a helmet on.
Yeah. And so let's talk about your vest. So I mean, the deputies in the room now are wearing vests, right?
Yes.
And vests come in different types,
Correct.
right? So there's a general bulletproof vest, which is generally made of Kevlar, right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess they are mostly rated against probably stab-proof and smaller rounds.
I don't know about the stab proof, but the smaller rounds, yes, sir.
Yeah, generally speaking, they're probably not going to stop something like that,
Generally, no.
right? And that's kind of, I guess you might agree with me that that's general police issue is a Kevlar vest, probably what the deputies are wearing here today, that will stop a smaller round, which is the one we were looking at there.
Yes, sir.
It'll stop one of those. It won't stop one of those.
Usually not, depending on that vest, but yes, sir, typically.
Probably not, right? You wouldn't trust it, would you?
No.
No. And so in order to do that, you need to put something inside the vest, right?
Yes.
It's normally a Kevlar plate.
A plate.
So you'd probably take your body armor off. Sometimes they've got spaces for you to put the plates in them,
Yes, sir.
right? So you'd have to take your armor off, open it up, put the plate in it, right?
At some point, but they usually stay with it most of the time.
Unless you stays with it. And if you're doing a dual purpose thing, you've got your normal vest on, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
could have your plates in your bag, in a go bag in your vehicle, right?
It depends on that individual, yes, sir.
But you probably have plates in yours.
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise, you wouldn't want to risk your life with that, right? Otherwise,
Correct.
Yeah, of course. And that's is that the stuff you had on you that day when you were in Del Rio and you got this call?
Once I didn't have a helmet on.
You didn't have it. Well, you didn't have it on, but you said you just finished the deployment or something. You had short.
Correct.
But you have your equipment available to you.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right, and that's the equipment you had with you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because, so, you testified that you were I think you said you were in Del Rio
Yes.
at the time this came in.
Yes, sir.
Or you became aware, right? Because you became aware that there was an incident developing,
Correct.
I'm assuming. So,
Mhm.
and that's either through radio or telephone communication.
I was at the office and somebody had walked up to me and said, "Hey, we've heard that there's an active shooter there at Uvalde. Are you going?" And of course, yes.
Right. And so, because you're a law enforcement officer,
Yes, sir.
right? And you're aware that there's this. Well, you're aware now. At the time, did you say there was an active shooter? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So you know that you hadn't seen that with your own eyes,
Correct.
but you know what an active shooter means.
Yes.
And if that, in fact, as we now know, this horrific thing happened, actually was an active shooter thing, situation, but you were in Del Rio, there's nothing you could do about it.
Sure, but it's still going to respond.
No, of course, but what I'm saying is you were aware in Del Rio. When
Yes.
somebody said to you, you know, Lieutenant, there is this situation going on, you've got to go,
Yes.
right? And you did in fact go,
Yes.
and it's an hour away
Yes.
from Del Rio to Uvalde.
Yes, sir.
And all the way there, you're probably receiving more information,
As much as we could.
as much as you could. And
Sure.
we're not talking about the communications piece, that's for later on. But you receive more and more information, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
As you traveled from your base to the scene.
Yes.
So you're aware of the gravity of this situation.
Yes.
Now it's developing.
Yes.
But being aware of it doesn't mean you can do anything.
Correct, because I wasn't there at the time.
Because
Yes, sir.
otherwise, because that would make no sense at all, right?
That
Because
I was in Del Rio and received the information, but I had to do something then.
Yeah, just because
to
you're
stop
aware.
it.
You made you aware because you're a law enforcement officer, whether you're off or on duty, really, right?
Yes, sir.
And so just because you're aware of this incident, you can't do anything about it.
Not at that time. No,
So that
sir.
can't be the standard, right? Being aware of it.
Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Well, just because you're aware of this situation is going on, you can't do anything to act because you know about it
Correct, until I can get there.
until you can see it,
Yes.
right? And that might sound like a silly question, but
No,
wanted
no,
to
I
clear it
understand.
up. And so I think that you said that when you got to the scene, it was, would you agree it was chaotic?
That's the word I was fixing to use. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a polite way to put it, right? Did you review any other reports or anything describing the scene?
No.
Because when I'm thinking about a word you might be thinking about using, but it was chaotic.
Very chaotic. Yes, sir.
Right? And which is not unusual in this kind of incident, right?
Well, it was the first one that I had responded to, but I mean, it's just very chaotic would be the precise word that I would use for it.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second, because you've got all that experience, right? And this is and lots and lots of training,
Yes, sir.
right? And this is the first one you've ever been.
Yes, sir.
I mean, pray that no one ever has to go to another one ever again.
Oh, 100%.
But even with your training and not making light of it, you've got nearly a quarter of a century of firearms training.
Yes, sir.
Most of that as an instructor,
Yes, sir.
right? Where you train, right?
Yes.
Or where you get initial training,
Yes.
right, in basic stuff. You get basic tactical training, basic weapons.
Yes, sir.
Then you've built on that, and you've got more advanced training,
Yes, sir.
okay? And you trained on that,
Yes.
and you practice it,
Yes.
and you practice it
Yes, sir.
to become efficient
Yes, sir.
and to become proficient.
Yes, sir.
So that when you're called to use these skills, they're second nature,
Yes, sir.
right? Because finish my sentence for me, if you would. If you don't use it, you
Lose it.
If you don't use it, you lose it. That's right. So you have to train these skills and hone them and practice them for them to be second nature. So when something happens, you don't have to pause and think memory files. What's going on? What am I supposed to do now? Right?
Correct.
Because what I'm going on to is you said that while you're at the scene, the BORTAC team breached the classroom.
Correct.
Right. Now, tell me if you know, that's the Border Patrol Tactical Team,
Correct.
right? And I don't know, they're a very well-trained bunch,
Yes.
right? And they're very proficient at what they do,
Yes, sir.
and they're very well equipped.
Yes.
And again, if you know, we could probably assume that they practice a lot,
Yes.
they train a lot.
I would suspect so.
So when they operate, they almost don't need to communicate with each other.
Correct.
To some extent.
Yes, sir.
But they're so well rehearsed, they get faced with a situation, they know what to do.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, that is what indeed happened here,
Yes, sir.
right? Eventually, when the BORTAC team arrived, they were the ones who breached and ended this situation, right?
Correct.
But you'd agree the difference, the qualities of the BORTAC folks are that all that training, lots and lots of training, lots and lots of practice in order to be able to do that.
Correct.
And they're properly equipped, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you'd agree that in order to do some sort of breach like the one that you're talking about, someone has got to be properly equipped.
Well, you would love for that to happen.
Ideally, that's how you would train. right?
Ideally, yes, sir.
training says doing things properly equipped.
Correct.
Because we live in the world of health and safety and stuff like that now, right? So you have to.
Sure, so you're going to respond without the helmet and the vest and stuff like that?
Yeah, but so the BORTAC team, they were armed with long weapons.
I believe so.
Yeah, and what I mean, long weapons. You know what I mean? Move around the well. I'll do it anyway. Like a long arm.
Yes.
Like the one you found in. You'll find it in a minute. And a pistol.
Yes, sir.
Properly rated vests.
Yes.
And a shield. So they're the ones got there and did that. Right. And so that's what happened there. So, and I'm assuming that this has all gone on, and once that's happened and been cleared, that's when you can move over to your duties of collecting evidence and documenting the scene and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, you wouldn't do this while that was going on.
No, sir.
So after that had happened, this is when you got deployed to do this.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Right. But that wasn't the only thing you did in this case. You said you did some interviews, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about these photographs first. If you just give me 1 second, I want to. And you're on my approach with this?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I just want to talk to you about a couple of them. So we mentioned, I'll go get my notes, that you took a photograph. There was some evidence inside the vehicle that indicated the ownership, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's 63.
Or who had insurance of the vehicle?
Yeah, well, maybe possession of the vehicle, right? And let's
Yes,
find the
sir.
63. Did you confirm that was?
Through the photographs.
What's the 63 or 53? Oh, there you go. State 63. I can't read that. Can you read that? You probably can't read one of these.
No, I can't read it.
Okay, but you tried to ascertain whose vehicle it was, right?
Yes, sir, because through the photographs, we could always zoom in if we needed to see who that individual is.
We now know who was driving that vehicle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, who's that?
I don't know his name.
You don't know his name?
No, sir.
Yeah. And there's 64, state 60. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah. And then 64 is a cell phone, right?
Yes, sir.
Around that. Do you know whose cell phone that was?
I don't know his name.
You know now, right?
No, I don't know his name.
You don't know his name?
No, sir.
You'd agree it's the guy responsible for this shooting, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hold on. I was gonna. Might be able to publish some of them on the screen. That would make it easier than me standing there, right? I mean, so this individual that you, I mean, generally speaking, this, from what you found, you know, do you know how many rounds of ammunition you found in that vehicle, in that bag?
No, sir.
Approximately.
No, sir, because we didn't unload those magazines, so I don't know. A bunch.
Yeah, a bunch,
Hundreds.
like a lot. So hundreds. That's where I was going. I mean,
Yes, sir.
there was this person, whoever was driving this vehicle, had another, you know, fairly high-powered semi-automatic rifle with hundreds of rounds of ammunition.
Potentially, yes, sir.
Right. And it looks, possibly from looking at this evidence, that person may have been firing that weapon inside the vehicle.
Or around the vehicle.
Or around the vehicle, because there are spent casings inside it.
Yes.
And so you took those photographs, and that's where your part of this investigation ended there at the scene with the truck, right?
Correct.
But I think that you also said, because we spoke earlier about your reports, right? And you said that you did some interviews
Yes.
of school people,
Yes.
school employees.
Correct.
And that wasn't that day, right?
No, sir. This is for the weeks, or for a week probably, every
Yeah.
day for the next week or so.
So how long after this incident do you think you did these what I'm getting at is, what was the time span? Was it the next day? Was it a week later?
So the next day I was dealing with returning property back to agencies who had just left their equipment. So I dealt with that. And then after that, it was more of dealing with, I had to go to the hospital the day of, right after this. Not for myself, but as part of the investigation. And then it was more a list of individuals who were employed at the school, officers that responded. So we broke that up and started conducting interviews. So those are the interviews that I had done.
And so you spoke to a lot of school district employees. I'm not talking about Adrian, I'm talking about staff at the school district, right?
Correct.
And you spoke to all kinds of people, right?
Correct.
From coaches, I guess.
I don't believe it was more of staff, principal, secretaries, and then officers that responded.
And Ranger, I guess you would agree with me that your investigation showed a practice or a pattern of staff defeating the locks at the school, right?
Correct.
What I mean by that is there was a policy in place in the school district for the doors to be locked, the exterior doors to be locked.
Correct.
And for the interior doors of classrooms to be locked.
Correct.
Right. And they were fitted, I guess you would agree with me, with what has been called a lot of these doors, through your investigation, they're called Columbine doors, right?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. But they were fitted with doors that can only be locked from the outside.
Correct.
And there's a purpose for that, right?
From the individuals that I spoke to, the purpose for that was so a student couldn't lock a teacher outside the door.
Okay, right, and that's a valid purpose, right? But what you know through your law, because you've been a firearms instructor for 24 years, right? You were around just after Columbine in 1999, and you've done lots of training in active shooters.
Yes, sir.
Scenarios, right? And one of the reasons that those doors are supposed to lock is so that people like the person who committed this unspeakable act can't gain access to the building.
Yes, sir.
Because if it's locked, presumably they don't have access to the keys.
It'd be harder to get into the school. Yes, sir.
Yep. If it's locked, you can't get in through a locked door without breaching it.
Correct.
Right? Because these doors are pretty substantial.
Yes, sir.
They're metal.
Yes, sir.
You've got metal frames.
Yes, sir.
So if you were to go and you would need, and your team would need special equipment to get into that.
Correct.
So the reason they're locked is so that a kid can't play a prank on their teachers, right?
Sure.
But also for more sinister reasons to prevent things like this happening.
Correct.
Right. And that's just the external doors.
Yes, sir. I was
internal.
speaking about the ones inside the classroom.
But
or at the
external
classroom.
and internal, right?
Yes.
But your investigation showed a pattern of staff defeating these locks.
Based on the interviews I had done, yes, sir. There were staff that wouldn't always lock the inside doors.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But your investigation showed that the school had magnets that they could place on the doors to defeat the locks.
Correct.
And they would give them out to staff.
Now that I don't know.
But
I know there were some teachers that utilized those. Now, do I know if the school gave those out? I don't know anything about that.
You don't recall being told that these magnets were given to substitute teachers because they wouldn't be able to get in and out with passes?
Very true. Yes, sir. But your normal staff, no. But substitute teachers, so because they weren't given a key to the classroom, they would be given those.
And I know you're probably aware there was a policy that was against the school policy.
I would suspect so.
Yeah. Thank you, Roger. Yeah, and so just thank you, Jason. So just to confirm that your investigation revealed that there was a pattern of leaving these doors unlocked.
Yes.
There was a pattern of defeating the door locks with magnets.
Yes, sir.
right? And on this day, when you were there, you now know that these doors were in fact all unlocked.
At the time, I was under the same impression as everybody else that the door was locked, and to come to find out that I've been told, based off of that crime scene investigation, that that door was unlocked.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. So we'll deal with the end of it first, right? So now, through your investigation, I appreciate your candor, Ranger, that we now know that those doors were all unlocked.
I know that one door was unlocked.
The one on the west, right?
Yes.
Is that one you're referring to?
The door, I don't know what classroom door that
you know
is.
my approach to this?
Yes.
Just very briefly, just to clarify something.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm going to show you what's in this next one. And this is the demonstrative of the scene, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is the school.
Correct.
And this is the new building or the west building, as it's called, right? And you'd agree this is the south door.
Correct.
When you say we know that the door, you said the door was unlocked, we're talking about this west one.
No, sir. I was talking about the inside door.
Oh, the inside door to the classrooms?
Correct.
Yeah, they were locked. Do you also, they were unlocked, sorry.
One of those that I know of was unlocked.
Did you know that one of the door locks wasn't even working?
No, sir.
You didn't know that?
No, sir.
Right.
I take it back. I knew that they had been having problems with one of them because they had reported it to maintenance, that one of the doors was not working.
And nothing had been done about it, right?
Correct.
So the school knew that that door wouldn't open, that wouldn't lock,
That they were having issues with it, yes, sir.
right? And it had been reported to maintenance,
That's what I had been
and nothing had
advised.
been done about it.
Correct.
But it was supposed to be locked,
Yes, sir.
but it was unlocked. Do you also know through investigation now, I guess you can agree, that the external doors were also unlocked?
Not based on my investigation, but based off of information I had heard, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ranger. Appreciate it. Pass the witness, Judge.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to start with this whole idea about the common pattern of defeating these Columbine doors being the magnets.
You're going to have to ask that question a different way. I'm
Fair
sorry.
enough. I believe the defense asked you about the common practice of using magnets.
I don't know about Columbine, but I'd heard that there had been individual teachers that were using magnets so the
Okay.
doors would not lock.
I just used the word Columbine because you used that for the name lock. I'll back off of that. The whole issue is pattern of using magnets so door wouldn't lock.
Yes, sir.
Door locking is a safety precaution
Correct.
to protect, I believe the defense said, from things like this happening.
Correct.
And school district police officers are also employed to keep things like this from happening
Yes, sir.
and provide security
For the students, yes, sir, and staff.
and determine whether or not there was a common practice not to lock doors.
I'm going to object. That calls for speculation, Judge.
This is what his training has been, Your Honor.
I'll rule the objection. You can answer if you know.
I don't know.
You don't know if...
They would know that there is a common practice going on. Would they be aware of that? You would suspect that if they are there at that campus, that they'd be aware of that.
That a school district police officer, you would suspect they would know if there's a common practice of defeating the locks with magnets.
Yes, sir.
And whose job would it be then to correct that?
The staff or that officer.
In charge of the security,
Correct.
to keep that from happening.
Yes, sir.
Did you have any indication that any of the school district police officers corrected the problem, the common problem, of using magnets to defeat the locks?
No, sir. I didn't interview any of those individuals.
And Adrian Gonzales was a school district police officer?
I don't know Adrian Gonzales.
I'd like to also speak to you about the casings you found inside the car.
Yes.
And just to be clear, the casing could end up inside the car because the weapon was fired inside the car
It could.
and the casing ejected.
Yes, sir.
But if a window is broken out, can a casing escape a weapon outside the car and enter the car?
Sure. Yes, sir.
And was there a window broken out in this case?
Yes.
In this vehicle?
Front passenger window.
So it would be completely consistent with being just outside the car for 2 casings to end up inside the car.
It could, yes, sir.
And I wanted to talk to you also about the suggestion about to do anything about it, you need to see it, right?
You would have to be present.
Present. You were in Del Rio.
Yes,
You couldn't do anything about it in Del Rio.
correct.
So what did you do?
Responded.
What does responded mean?
I went to that location.
To do something about it,
Yes,
if needed.
yes,
And you got to that location,
yes,
and fortunately, you weren't needed at that point.
correct.
But if you get to a location and you can't see an active shooter, but you can hear an active shooter, what do?
You respond to that location.
Go to see it?
To work, not just to see it, but to respond and to initiate whatever you can do to stop it.
So an active shooting, and you hear shooting, to do something about it, you go to it.
Correct,
You don't look for cover.
correct.
But we talked about equipment. If you don't have your helmet on, then it's okay to look for cover, right?
No, sir.
If you don't have your rifle but only a sidearm, it's okay to look for cover, isn't it?
No, sir.
I object to leading, Judge.
It's the same.
What are the limitations, if you explain to the jury, what are the limitations about going to shots fired in an active shooter situation?
There's not a limitation.
There's not a limitation?
I wouldn't say so.
The rule is what?
To engage,
The
to stop the
active-
killing.
Pass the witness.
Briefly, if I may. We talked, so I just want to clear up a couple of things we talked about there, Ranger. So you interviewed several staff at the school, even the principal.
Yes.
Right? Even the principal told you that they would defeat these locks with that magnets, right?
I can't remember which individual said, but based off the interviews I had conducted, now if she had said that, that's a possibility. I just don't remember which individual told me that.
If I represent to you, you spoke to Principal Gutierrez, right?
Yes.
If I represent to you that she told you that, would you have a reason to doubt me?
No, sir.
No, I appreciate that. But nevertheless, there was a pattern of practice of leaving these doors open,
Yes.
leaving them unlocked.
Unlocked.
That's what I mean. When I say open, I mean unlocked,
Yes.
which is a safety issue, right?
Yes.
Okay. And part of that safety thing is to prevent something like this from happening.
Correct.
Right. And so the prosecutor just asked you about school police officers and their duties. Right. Now you investigated this incident. Right. You know through your investigation that Adrian wasn't assigned to this school.
I don't know anything about Adrian.
No. But all right, let me ask you a different question then. You know there was no officer assigned to that school.
No, sir. I don't know anything
No,
about
no.
the officers at the school.
Through your investigation, you didn't know that?
No, because mine was compartmentalized to specific things.
Right, okay. But if there wasn't a school resource officer assigned to that school, then it'd be difficult for that non-existent school resource officer to report things to the school, right? That make sense?
If he had never been there, then no, he wouldn't know that.
Right. No further questions. Thank you, Ranger.
No further questions?
Recall, either side.
We don't need to recall him, Your Honor.
Subject to recall, please, Your Honor.
Okay, Ranger, the rule's been invoked. I think you're familiar with that. Please don't discuss the case with anyone. Be available for recall. And once again, when you know the case is over with and the rule is over, you can talk about it.
Thank
We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.